Hello, I'm Leslie,
And I'm Emily.
and we're reporting live from Pasco High School. Pelyavin and Roden conducted a study to investigate the helping behaviors of people and found interesting results. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to PHS News. A study known as the Pelyavin Bystander Intervention Study that aimed to investigate the idea of diffusion of responsibility and other factors that may influence helping behavior confirmed the hypothesis that people are more inclined to help someone of their own race and help someone that is not responsible of their own plight.
The study was conducted in a New York subway system that operated on a 7.5-minute nonstop ride. The people riding the subway were the participants who didn't know that they were a part of the experiment.
The victims of the study were either given the role with a cane or given the role to be a drunk, who were all aged 26 to 35. The victims used were both black and white. If none of the bystanders helped after a certain time period, there were models that helped up the victims.
In the procedure, the victims would pretend to collapse 70 seconds after the subway left the stop. The victims would remain on the floor until helped or until the model was instructed to help after 70 or 150 seconds.
The observers recorded the response time, information on race, gender, whether the bystander was sitting or standing, and the location of the passenger who helped. Whether or not the victim was helped, the team would exit the train and cross over to another train going back to the original station. This experiment was repeated 103 times.
The results showed that 100% of cane victims, whether black or white, were helped with and without help of the model. 100% of white drunk victims were also helped without the model. However, only 77% were helped with a model. 73% of black drunk victims were helped without a model, and only 67% with a model. The calculated total showed that 82% of drunk victims were helped with or without the help of a model, compared to 100% of cane victims being helped.
It's also important to note that the average response time was 5 seconds, and the black victims were helped less quickly than the white victims, especially in drunk condition. No diffusion of responsibility was found, but there was a trend that most help came from the experiment with the largest group size in the subway. It was also found that the longer the victim went without help, the less impact the model had on the bystanders intervening. The more likely bystanders were to leave the critical area, and the more likely bystanders were to discuss the incident. People did tend to help someone of their own race as well.
The study also pushes the cost-benefit analysis, which explains that people weigh the cost of helping or not and choose the option with the lowest cost and the highest benefits. Some of the factors that people may consider would be the effect, time required, risk of harm, guilt, and loss of resources.
There were some ethical concerns about the experiments, such as the fact that there was a lack of informed consent, deception, and possible anxiety or inconvenience of the subway passengers. The research collected was rich in detail. However, the observers were not able to collect every detail of the experiment because of how quickly the events happened.
The study did in fact have high ecological and internal validity, standardized procedures, and the results of the study allowed for psychologists to propose a new theoretical explanation. On the flip side, the less strict conditions in the experiment being that it was a field experiment, the unequal number of trials between cane and drunk victims, and the ethical concerns were some weaknesses of the experiment.
The results of the study can now be used to explain why bystanders tend to ignore the cry for help of strangers in public. The PHS News crew did our own mock experiment to explain the bystander effect. The aim for this experiment was to test whether the bystander effect applied to close-knit groups such as band, vet, and ag. The hypothesis was we believed that because people in band and vet and ag have close relationships and they consider each other almost family, that they would be more likely to help one another when someone drops their folders than in situations where strangers are involved. The independent variable, the variables were, the independent variable was the fact that all groups of people had close relationships with each other, and the dependent variable was the number of people who helped and how long it took them to help.
Only one person helped the first trial, a male directly beside the experimenter. He also helped by pushing some papers together and helped several seconds afterwards. In the second trial, 2 females started to help a different experimenter, but only one helped until the paper was completely picked up. In the second trial, 2 females started to help a different experimenter, but only one helped until the paper was completely picked up.
In the third and final trial, we found that a male helped our female. Only one male helped our female experiment. The conclusion was we found that the bystander effect even applies to situations in which participants know each other and are close friends with one another.
I am videoing it.
Hey guys, we're talking.
Okay, and I also had
I'm about to get on to meet some girls down there with their
Who
steers.
steers on the very end?
Wow, that was
Like across from your pin.
nice.
Now who's the one in the middle next
I know.
to Maddie? That's McKenna. And then
Make sure y'all shut the door good.
yes. And you want people who
Yes.
gosh dang it.
Whoever touched the animals,
Stop it.
She went into the shop.
He dropped some.
How gentlemanlike.
Thanks, Karen.
You're welcome.
That is it for today.
Thank you for joining us on PHS News.